Welcome back to our wellness series, 6 wellness keys to supercharge your self-care and mental wellness. I'm Shahidra Kogel, licensed therapist, clinical director, and founder of Fundamental Foundations Counseling Center, here to talk about wellness key number 2, and it lives in the zone of relational self-care. If at any point in your life you have thought or said out loud, "Yeah, I think I have trust issues," then this wellness key is for you. That's right, today we are talking about healing our trust issues. Well, I'm about to call out some common themes that underlie trust issues in many people. And I just want you to take a mental note if any of these fit you or anyone you may be close with in relationship. History of betrayal and disloyalty, a history of abandonment, a history of unhealthy relationships, a history of unforgiveness or overforgiveness, a history of hypervigilance or suspicions. Now let's tackle each one of these one by one. Okay, so something happened in close relationship. And maybe it was a family member, a close family friend, a significant other, a spouse, a coworker, a teammate. Something that happened was big enough, or it happened as a theme over and over again in different relationships that has made you believe that when people get too close or you become vulnerable with others, they will do something to betray the trust. The impact of these experiences tend to show up in your new relationships. Okay, so if you are a person who has a history of betrayal, here are some common telltale signs that you may struggle in relationships with these characteristics. Number one, it's common that a person who has a history of betrayal may make assumptions that somebody will betray you. It is also an option that you may believe you've already been betrayed and start to look for the evidence that the betrayal has already happened because you made it up in your mind, even if that person has given you no reasons to think this. If you are someone who has a history of disloyalty, your loyalty may be experienced by others as feeling overly protective and even controlling. Maybe you had rigid expectations, and when those expectations went unmet, you started to write people off, sometimes prematurely. You may be very protective of your loved ones, and you want to stay close to them, but you want them to stay even closer to you, even if it's unrealistic or unreasonable. All of this may be done out of fear that that person or your loved one will become disloyal to you. Abuse in all of its forms are forms of betrayal and disloyalty. When this is perpetrated during childhood, especially before age 18, it can shape a perspective and expectation about relationships that can render you emotionally and relationally disabled. Mainly because you don't know what healthy looks like, and your behaviors and your actions may not line up when you get around healthier people. So they notice it, but you may not for some time, until you are willing to process it or get some help with going a little deeper into where these issues are grounded and rooted. Okay, with a history of abandonment, you may try to control the distance you keep between yourself and others. In close relationships, people might say you feel distant, disconnected, or even shut off. If you can be in control of who you let get close or don't let get close enough, you can keep this fear of betrayal and abandonment at bay. Maybe it works for a little while, but it can be extremely isolating and lonely in this zone. And you end up sending mixed messages to folks who you want to stay close, but they end up feeling like they don't know you because you won't let them get close. If you deal with cycles of depression or anxiety, this is a fear-driven source and one of the most painful relational injuries a person may experience. This type of trust issue or relational injury often leads to self-sabotage. Now, what does that mean? It means you end up engaging in unhealthy behaviors that disrupt relationship because you assume it's better to end things now or be in control of orchestrating the ending rather than end up being disappointed later. Number 4, unhealthy relationships. People with trust issues almost always struggle to build healthy, long-lasting relationships. It's normal for trust to take a while to develop within dating and romantic relationships, but people without the capacity to trust others may struggle to experience this type of connection. Maybe you attract people who are unavailable emotionally. Maybe they struggle with keeping commitments, or they avoid commitment at all costs. If there is a history of unforgiveness or overforgiveness, it may be that in that zone of unforgiveness, it's hard to even forgive the small mistakes. You make a big deal out of nothing and it's the end of the world, and it's a whole lot of drama surrounding these mistakes. However, on the other end of the spectrum, when there are big mistakes over and over again where it continues to happen and that forgiveness is given, it can be an over forgiveness because you're not setting healthy boundaries and allowing those, and really allowing that person permission to continue to cause harm and more relational injuries. Last sign of trust issues: hypervigilance or suspicions. Hypervigilance is when you are extremely cautious and suspicious of everyone you meet, and even your loved one's intentions. Close and intimate relationships with others are the hub around which a person's life revolves. From these intimate attachments, a person draws strength and enjoyment of life, and within healthy relationship, gives strength and enjoyment to others. Ultimately, we should all be striving for security and healthy interactions and communication in our relationships. When there is trust, we feel more confident, strong, self-assured, and we're able to enjoy life with others. Everything that happens to us as an experience is recorded on our brain. Everything in the brain that is not a body function is wired through the senses and begins wiring at birth. So that means every life event, every experience that we've had, it is recorded somewhere on our brain. Here's the thing: repetition strengthens those connections made in the brain. So here's the question: what things are you allowing to be on repeat in your relationships? Here are some tips that you can use today to work on healing your relationship trust issues. Number one, take emotional risks with opening your heart to new relationships. At some point, you've got to allow yourself that opportunity to be vulnerable and risk being let down in order to create healthy relationships again. That means if you're not ready with new people or to forgive the ones that caused the relational injury, it's important to identify some safe folks, either one or two safe people in your life to start practicing with. Number two, go emotional scuba diving. It's important to acknowledge the event, get some support with processing it, and how it has impacted you or changed you. Remember wellness key number one. This concept is linked. Start with healing the trauma first so you can get back to being who you were meant to be in relationship. Try to trust again with vigilance. Raise your awareness to how you are experiencing people and how they are experiencing you. When we are watchful and mindful, we can make better decisions about who we trust and who is not worthy of our trust. Repair is key to relationship success. No matter how careful you are, you will do something to rupture the bond in your relationship. It happens. Address the issue, acknowledge and own that you caused an injury. Put action, not just words, behind your intention to do and be better. If you are the one on the other side, acknowledge that your reactions may be based on assumptions in your history and that you'll work on your part. When you and your partner can move forward together, you have a better and stronger foundation and a strategy to work through it when future issues arise. It's not just about changing who you are. It's about growing to be who you're called to be. Blessings, y'all. Stay tuned for our next wellness key, and don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe.